Hi, first grade. It's so good to be with you again. I'm going to be teaching you the science today. We've already started this packet last week. This is the packet we're going to be working from today. Last week we learned about healthy eating habits. We talked about food groups. We talked about planning out good, rounded, healthy meals. So you probably completed this page with an example of good, healthy eating, incorporating many types of good food choices. Today we're going to talk about what our body actually does with the food that we eat. As you know, we've talked about this many times, how God has put everything in the universe to work together perfectly. When we were studying about the planets, the rotation of everything, all the planets, the earth, we don't collide one with one another. Everything orbits in the same pace. We've talked about animals and their habitats and their food that they need. Well, God, of course, took care of all of us human beings. And He planned everything to work together all perfectly. So we're going to talk about more of that today. So God designed our bodies to break down food into many pieces. We're going to be looking at the chart on page 195. So if you want to turn to that, but I'm going to talk to you for a minute first about how some of the processes work. So if you're getting ready to eat something, which we talked about when we were studying about teeth a couple of weeks ago, you bite into something, maybe it's an apple, a cracker, and we use our front teeth. Yes, and we bite in, then we use, remember, our molars, our incisors, to do the grinding, the chewing. Well, then we swallow. So that's what we're going to pick up today and learning about our digestive system. Now, as you know, in your mouth, there's a clear fluid, and that's called saliva. And God, of course, planned that as well, so that when we chew our food, it makes the swallowing process easier, as well as there's chemical in it that once our food gets to its destination in our stomach, it helps break down the food even more. So right here we have a picture of a girl, and it's pointing to her mouth, and if she were to put food into her mouth, she would then chew and swallow, and this long tube right here happens to be called the esophagus. So our food travels down this tube into our stomach. Stomach is kind of like kind of a bean shape right here. And that is our stomach, where the foods get broken down. And I'll show you some examples of that in a minute. And then it travels to what is called the small intestines. The small intestines are right here in the middle. That's that light pink color. And as you can see, it's like a little tube that is all just wound up. And if you were to take the intestines out of someone and were to lay it out straight, it would be approximately 20 feet long. That's pretty close to the size of a tennis court, just to give you an idea. So, as you can tell, these are small and they're all wound up in there. Our food travels from the small intestine down to the large intestine. Now, the large intestine are the ones that are around here in that darker kind of a red-purple color. And they are, if you were to lay those out, they're about 5 feet long. I'm just a tiny bit over 5 feet. So if you were to lay out your large intestines, it would be about from my feet all the way up to the top of my head, just to give you an idea of how that is. So right here, let's read this together and find out a little bit more. It says you chew your food with your mouth and your teeth. The food goes down the esophagus and into your stomach. The stomach is part of the body that breaks down the food. Now, there are muscles that contract and push, And that's what helps smush up the food when it's in your stomach. And your stomach is able to take all the vitamins, nutrients, all the good things from your food to use. And then the food goes into your small intestine. So it's got a lot of traveling to do. And then the food goes into the large intestine. And what is not able to be broken down and usable for your body goes into the large intestine, and that leaves your body as waste. Okay? Stuff that the body just was not able to use because there wasn't any food value in it for you. Now, the important thing we sometimes talk about is we eat because we need energy. Sometimes I notice some of you kids, just before lunch, you're kind of saying, oh, Mrs. Arnsey, I'm really kind of hungry right now. Yeah, I can see that you're kind of getting worn out. Maybe you're feeling a little sluggish. But by the time I see you after you've eaten your lunch and then you've had some fresh air, oh my goodness, you're all ready to go again. You're all energized. That's because your food gave you more energy. Your body was running low on fuel and it needed something added to its system. So the stomach works to break down the food. So I want to show you a couple examples of how this works. So I'm going to be on page 196 and show you a couple of things that we're going to do. So we're going to pretend that this is a mouth, okay? That right here is, I'm going to be putting some orange juice into a mouth. This is going to be our esophagus, I'm then going to show you how the esophagus empties into this bowl. This bowl is going to be an example of our stomach, okay? So let's pretend you're going to be drinking some orange juice. So I will pretend this is a great big cup you're drinking from, and it's going into a mouth. And we'll watch it as it goes in the mouth and down the esophagus. You can see it traveling down all the way and going right into our stomach. Yeah, that's how it works for our bodies as well. So then we have all this liquid sitting here in our stomach. That liquid can also help in the digestion of foods that are more solid. Okay. So right here it's showing the esophagus is a tube and the food goes down it and it travels down the tube. And so that's exactly how it works. Now I'm going to show you something else. We're going to pretend this is a stomach. And I'm thinking you guys all feel like eating some crackers right now. Okay? So I'm going to put some crackers. Well, first of all, you would chew them. So I'm going to pretend that this is chewing up crackers, and I'm going to put cracker pieces in here. And then for the saliva, I have a little water here in a cup. And I'm going to pour a little water. So we're pretending that the crackers are sitting in your tummy. And I'm going to pour some water in. And that would be like the saliva or the stomach fluids that you have. And I'm going to hold this tight at the top. Now, remember I told you that some of the muscles push against the stomach. And as you can see, this is what is starting to happen right now. It's not looking so much like a cracker anymore at all. It's kind of looking rather mushy. Yeah, you can see up close. It doesn't have the shape of a cracker anymore. So you can see it's all broken up. It's kind of like when you put crackers in soup. And if you were to let it set for a couple of minutes. Yeah, that's kind of what we have. So that's how the food gets digested in our stomach. It gets pushed on. Okay? So that kind of shows you that. Right here, the girl actually used some bread. I had crackers available, so I just did that. So she put bread in a bag, and she did the same thing, smushing like those muscles would be doing. And the intestines uses the food to give the body energy. So what we're going to do right here is, they're the 4 parts of the digestive system. Okay, so the parts of the digestive system includes stomach, intestines, mouth, esophagus. We need to put these in the numbered order as how they are used. So the very first thing is we pick up food, we go and put it in our mouth. So mouth is over here. You're going to put a number 1 next to mouth. After it's in our mouth, it goes down that long tube, which is called your esophagus. That will be number 2. Once it's gone down the esophagus, it lands somewhere, and that's called our stomach, number 3. And then the very last place that food travels is through our intestines. That would be number 4. Great. Now we're moving on to page 199 in our workbook. We're going to be doing this together. This is one of the review pages because guess what? We're getting right to the very end of this chapter. So what we need to do on this page is we're going to circle each picture that is from a particular food group. So let's go up to number 1. That word is dairy. Dairy. We need to look at these 3 food items and decide which one of these 3 is from the dairy food group. Would it be eggs, milk, or cookies? If you said milk, you're right. Go ahead and draw a circle around the glass of milk. Number 2 says grains. Right here we have a croissant, which is like a bread, broccoli, and then we have candy. So what do we think grains would be? Okay, if you chose croissant, you are correct. Circle that word. Our third one is protein. Right here we have some beautiful looking fruit. Then we have pretzels, and then we have a hunk of beef. So which one would you think is protein? If you said the beef over here, you're correct. You're going to circle that. All right. Let's move on to number 4. This one we're going to circle the correct answer. You only have to circle it. You do not need to write it on the line. Okay, you just circle your answer. Number 4. Now, as you know, sometimes our workbook gets kind of funny, so hang on. Here we go. Taste and smell help you eat or sing. Make a choice. I know it's tough, but do your best. I think taste and smell definitely would be to eat. To eat. Healthful foods help you move, and do they help you fly or do they help you grow? Now, if you eat and you can start flying, I want you to send me a video of that because that would be truly amazing for sure. I don't think that can happen. So that means we have to circle the word grow. Grow. Now we're going to color the body parts. So esophagus, the esophagus. Now I don't have the exact colors for some of these. So if you have an orange, go ahead and use your orange. I only have a yellow. And the esophagus, remember, is that long tube right here. So go ahead. I don't know that my yellow will show up too much. Oh, you can probably tell a little bit. All right. And then right here, number 4 says stomach. They want you to color the stomach brown. So the stomach, remember, is kind of that bean shape right here. I'm going to color that in brown. It's kind of a light brown, okay? And then the small intestines are going to be green. So the small ones are the ones that look small. That's pretty easy. And they're the ones that are in the inside portion. So we're going to color those green. And then the last thing we're going to do are the large intestines. We're going to color those blue. So I have my blue right here, and you're just going to kind of circle around where the small intestines are, right to there. Okay? That gives you a pretty good idea of how it should look. Very good. You're doing a great job. We are going to go now to the back page. And this is our journal entry page that we always have at the very end of our chapter. So we will work on this together. And as you know, when we do these journal pages, I help you, but you can also use your own words. And please use your own spelling. You don't need to run and ask someone how to spell something for you. Sometimes I help you with the spelling. Other times you do it on your own. This time you're going to do your best spelling on your own. Okay? So this time our journal wants to know something about stomach and food, which that would make sense. That's what we've been studying about. We are going to write about a food that you like, and then we're going to name what food group that it comes from. So when we start thinking about this, think of, what is one of your favorite things that you like to eat? I bet so many of you are going to put broccoli, Brussels sprouts, maybe. Or maybe an apple, carrots. Maybe you love pasta. So think about what you want to pick as one of your favorite things that you like to eat. When we write sentences, remember we always want to start the first letter of the first word with a capital. So, and we want to write a complete sentence. And when we get to the end of the sentence, we're going to put a period. So write about a food you like. So I'm going to start by putting I like, and I'm going to put apples. That is one of my favorite. I eat apples every day. I love apples. So I like apples. And I started with a capital and I ended with a period. Now, once again, I mentioned this last week. I'm left-handed, so when I write across here, sometimes it smears the pen ink a little bit. So I'm doing my best. I like apples, but you can fill in whatever you like. And then I need to name the food group. And so I will start with another capital, apples are from, and I'll show you all of this in just a minute, from the fruit group. All right, if you're not sure what your food is like, you can look back into the pages of your science and see what food group it did fall into. So it says, I like apples, the period. Oh, I made a mistake. I didn't put an S at the end of my word apples. Good thing I was proofreading. Apples are from the fruit group. And then I put a period. So you can keep working on that. I want to mention a couple other things to you while I have you today. There is a page we did not do together, and you might be wondering, that would be page 197. There is a separate recording for you to watch that will have this experiment. So just so you know, get ready. It's going to be fun. And we have a special guest with us for that. So this will be that part of it. This part is totally optional. That's only if your family wants to possibly do the experiment. Otherwise, don't worry about it. That's totally fine. You can watch what happens when I do an experiment with our special guest. Okay? And then I should mention to you, this was also with your science packet. This is optional. This is an optional thing. You don't have to do it. If you want to do it, you certainly may. You do not need to turn it in. That can just be something for you to work on at home if you're trying to find a couple things to do. So what you would do is, if you want to color the foods, you cut out on the dotted squares. And this happens to be a carton of milk. So where does milk go? Well, this says dairy. So I would glue that square of milk into the dairy column right there. We have proteins, dairy, fruit, vegetables, and grains. So right here, I have a pineapple. Where would the pineapple go? You would cut it out and put it over here into the fruit section. We have some pasta macaroni. That would go into our greens. So each one of these will fit into one of these categories of fruit. Vegetable, green, dairy. What did I leave out? Vegetables. Great. All of those, there's 5. Okay? So go ahead. That's something you can do. So I really do miss being with you, but I'm so glad I'm able to share with you this way. I hope you're enjoying your science and eating healthy. That's all for now.